In the shifting sands of history, some stories are etched in stone, while others are whispered on the wind, carried across generations like a secret melody. This is one of those whispers, a story about a warrior who fought for a country that didn't exist yet, a ghost on a battlefield of tomorrow. They called him the Nameless. He appeared when the first shadows of oppression began to fall, long before any banner was raised in defiance. He carried no sigil, swore allegiance to no king, and his face was always hidden, a phantom wrapped in dust and leather. The elders say his eyes held the fire of 1,000 dawns, and his sword sang a song of a future no one else could hear. He didn't fight for land or for gold. He fought for an idea. A whisper of freedom, a dream of a nation where people could walk with their heads held high. In a time when tribes warred against each other, blinded by ancient feuds and petty rivalries, the Nameless saw a different path. He saw a unified people, a single heart beating in the chest of a scattered land. His first battle was not with a sword, but with a word. He walked into the camp of the Sunstone clan, who had been enemies of the river folk for centuries. They drew their weapons, ready to strike him down, but he didn't flinch. He spoke of a common enemy, not of flesh and blood, but of chains and silence. He spoke of their children's children and the world they deserved to inherit. He painted a picture of a nation built not on borders drawn in blood, but on a shared hope. That night, for the first time in memory, two rival chieftains sat by the same fire, not as enemies, but as listeners. The Nameless became a legend. He would appear on the eve of a skirmish, a lone figure on a ridge, and his presence alone was enough to turn the tide. He taught them a new way of fighting, not just with steel, but with unity. He showed the mountain tribes how to use their terrain to aid the valley dwellers. He taught the coastal people how to read the stars to guide the inland caravans. He was weaving a tapestry of a nation, thread by painful thread, connecting disparate peoples with a common purpose. But the powers that were, the overlords who profited from division, saw him as a threat. They sent their deadliest assassins, their most cunning tacticians. They laid traps, spread lies, and offered fortunes for his head. Yet he was always one step ahead, as if he could see the ripples of the future. He moved through their nets like smoke, leaving behind only confusion and a growing sense of dread among his enemies. One of his greatest trials came during the long winter. A brutal famine had gripped the land, turning neighbor against neighbor. The old hatreds resurfaced, and the fragile alliance he had built began to crumble. The overlords gloated, believing his dream was finally dying in the cold, but the Nameless did not despair. He journeyed to the frozen heart of the Crystal Mountains, a place from which no one had ever returned. Legends said it was guarded by ancient spirits. He was gone for 40 days and 40 nights. When he returned, he was gaunt and scarred, but he carried something that would change everything: the Sunstone. It was a crystal that pulsed with a gentle warmth and light, a geological anomaly that could melt the ice and reveal fertile soil hidden beneath. He hadn't fought a monster, he had found a solution. He had proven that the land itself held the keys to their survival, if only they worked together. The shared miracle of the Sunstone solidified his alliance. It was no longer a pact of convenience, it was a covenant of faith. Years passed. The seeds of unity grew into saplings of rebellion. The Nameless had forged an army not of soldiers, but of believers. They were farmers, blacksmiths, poets, and mothers, all fighting for the same invisible country. The final battle was inevitable. The overlords amassed the largest army the world had ever seen, determined to crush the uprising once and for all. On the eve of the great battle, the Nameless walked through the camp. He spoke to no one, but his gaze met everyone's. In their eyes, he saw not fear, but resolve. He had given them more than tactics. He had given them a reason to stand. He had shown them the nation that lived within their hearts. The battle raged for 3 days under a blood-red sky. The Nameless was everywhere at once, a flash of steel in the front lines, a calm voice directing from a hilltop, a shadow mending the wounded in the rear. He was the soul of the resistance, the living embodiment of their dream. And then, at the peak of the fighting, as victory seemed within their grasp, he vanished. One moment he was there, turning the tide at the broken pass, and the next, he was gone. His sword was found planted in the ground, but his body was never recovered. The army faltered, their spirits shaken. But then, a young woman, a weaver he had once taught to see patterns not just in thread but in people, picked up a fallen banner. She cried out that the Nameless hadn't left them, he had become a part of them. He was in their courage, their sacrifice, their unwavering hope. Her voice, filled with his fire, rallied the troops. They fought not for a lost leader, but for the legacy he had gifted them. They won. In the aftermath, they built their new nation. They wrote laws of freedom, drew maps of a unified land, and raised a flag that bore no sigil, just the color of the dawn sky. They had their country, the country the Nameless had fought for. But the mystery remained. Who was he? Some say he was a traveler from a future that needed its own past to be born. Others believe he was no man at all, but the spirit of the land itself, given form to guide its children home. His true identity was never discovered. He remains the great unknown soldier of a nation born from a dream. He is the warrior who bled for a country that did not yet exist, proving that the most powerful nations are not built on soil, but are first born in the heart. His story isn't just about the past, it's a question for all of us. What unseen countries are we fighting for today? If this journey pulled you in, imagine where the next one will take you. Subscribe, like, and share. Your next adventure starts right here. Thanks for watching.